Picture this. You walk outside one morning and your garden just looks fine. No chewed up leaves, no swarm of bugs you have to spray away, no daily battle. It's just quietly taking care of itself. Here's something most people never stop to think about. Gardeners aren't usually losing to pests because pests are unbeatable. They're losing because they're using the wrong approach. That kind of calm, self-sufficient garden isn't an accident, it's a setup. Certain plants aren't passive. They fight back on their own terms, sending out chemical signals that throw insects off track, make your crops harder to find, or literally call in reinforcements that hunt pests for you. Once you understand that, you stop trying to control every bug by hand and start letting the garden handle itself. Today, we're covering 10 companion plants that build that kind of natural defense and exactly where to put them so they actually do their job. Stick around for number 6 because it works in a way almost nobody expects. Quick question before we start. What part of the world are you gardening in right now? Drop it below. You'll probably spot someone growing the same things you are. Let's flip the usual advice here. Most people think protection means keeping pests away. Nasturtiums do the opposite. They pull pests toward themselves instead of your real crops. Aphids and beetles show up on the nasturtiums first, leaving your tomatoes and squash alone. Once pests cluster in one spot, they're easy to spot, easy to remove, and far less destructive overall. And because that cluster becomes a buffet, predator insects like hoverflies and parasitic wasps arrive too, cleaning things up without you lifting a finger. Plant them along the outer edge of a bed, or let them sprawl near vulnerable crops. You're not sacrificing space, you're setting a trap that works itself. This one gets underestimated constantly, but it might be doing more work underground than anything else in your garden. Marigold roots release compounds that suppress root knot nematodes, a pest most gardeners never even see until their plants are already struggling. Above the soil, the sharp scent scrambles the way insects track down food. Whiteflies, aphids, and beetles all rely on smell, and marigolds make that signal unreliable. On top of that, marigolds bring in ladybugs and other predator insects that finish the job. Tuck them along borders or between rows of peppers and tomatoes for the biggest payoff. Plant 3. Basil. You probably already grow basil, just not for this reason. In the garden, it functions less like an herb and more like static in the air. Pests navigate by scent trails, and basil's strong aromatic oils blur those trails, so insects struggle to zero in on soft crops like lettuce or spinach planted nearby. Group several basil plants together rather than scattering single ones. The effect compounds. And when it flowers, it draws in bees and hoverflies, whose larvae take care of any aphids that do slip through. Plant 4. Lavender. People plant lavender because it smells wonderful. To insects, that same scent is disorienting. Mosquitoes, moths, and flies avoid it outright. Moths matter here because their larvae, caterpillars, are the actual damage doers, and lavender makes your garden a less appealing place for moths to lay eggs in the first place. Meanwhile, bees and butterflies are drawn right in, which bumps up pollination and, eventually, your harvest. It also tolerates heat and dry soil better than almost anything else, so it works even in the spots where other plants give up. Rosemary doesn't make a big show of protecting your garden, it just quietly reduces problems before they start. Cabbage moths, carrot flies, and bean beetles all hunt by scent, and rosemary's strong fragrance throws that process off. Fewer eggs get laid, which means fewer larvae later on. It's a low-maintenance shrub that handles heat and neglect fine, so once it's established near root vegetables or leafy greens, it just keeps working in the background. Here's the one that surprises people. Mint doesn't gently discourage pests, it floods the area with scent until insects can barely function. One gardener I know had a recurring ant problem for over a year. Nothing worked until a few pots of mint went in near the trouble spots. Within a couple of weeks, the ant trails thinned out, and the aphids that usually followed the ants disappeared with them. That's the part people miss. Mint doesn't just target one pest, it breaks apart the relationship between pests that depend on each other. Keep it in pots, though. Planted straight into the ground, it will take over everything around it. Has mint ever gone rogue in your garden? Let me know in the comments.